Brooke Fremouw here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are going to talk about a few things that lead to being a successful adoptive parent. I'm an adoptive parent to 11 incredible, beautiful, amazing, and super challenging children. So if you are looking into getting into the world of adoption and growing your family in that way, this video is for you. Also, if you've already taken a leap of faith and grown your family through foster care or adoption, these are things to challenge you. Like, do I have this? And if I don't, is this something I could cultivate in order to be more successful as an adoptive parent? So let's go ahead and dive right into it and see what your thoughts and feelings are. The number one thing I would say you need as an adoptive parent, number one, resilience. Yeah, what is that, Brooke? What is it? It's the ability to sustain an ongoing influx of stress, difficulty, hardship, and do it well. To be able to pivot and adapt as life throws all sorts of stuff in your direction. See, the first thing you already know if you are investigating the world of adoption is that it's not simple. There is no simple way to go about adopting a child. There's this beautiful, precious, valuable, beyond measure human being, and somebody somewhere is entrusted with determining whether you are fit and appropriate to be the parent to this human being. What does that mean? It means background checks. It means home studies where somebody, a social worker or an adoption agency worker, comes and asks you all about your past and the way you were parented, the way you anticipate parenting. What are your expectations of this child and their future and what your family would look like? Have you been abused? How will that impact things? What is your income? What are your allergies? Literally, I feel like as a DNA sample, home studies are rough. They take a long time and they cost money. If you're doing a birth parent placement, you know that it's basically like you've got to fill out all of this information about you and then make yourself known and wait to be chosen and face rejection after rejection as you're not the family that is chosen. It's not easy, especially when all you want is to be able to bring that child home. If it's through foster adopt, okay, you're dealing with the state system. You're dealing with a child that is not legally free yet for adoption. You're dealing with trauma wounds from neglect, abandonment, or abuse that child has faced in order that they've become a child in the foster care system. You're dealing with trust issues, attachment issues. It's hard. There may not be the financial stumbling blocks that a birth parent adoption has or an international adoption has, but let me tell you, those obstacles are huge. And there's always the factor that, hey, listen, this child could be placed with you and their case plan not actually transition to adoption. That takes resilience. You love this child, right? And the fear associated with the fact that until they're adopted, they're not adopted. It's hard. It's really hard. What about the kids that are international adoption, home studies, money, travel, international law? I can't tell you how many times people have been matched and then countries, for whatever reason, be it COVID, be it new policy changes, the adoption agencies just shut down and you've been matched with the child on the other side of the world that you're invested in emotionally, financially, and otherwise, and now that adoption may or may not go through, right? You need resilience before the child ever even comes into your home. And then once your child gets here, it's resilience on steroids, guys, because you're talking about a lifetime, not 18 years, a lifetime of walking through the trials and tribulations of adoption trauma. That is not simple. And if you're not educated in the world of adoption trauma, get educated. Because even at a birth parent placement, there is adoption trauma. And that trauma impacts the way in which their brains and bodies develop and the way in which they see the world. And so you may have already done some research and known that the younger the child is, the less trauma they've been exposed to. But the reality is all adopted children have adoption trauma. And then the ones that weren't adopted from birth, they've got other trauma on top of it. And trauma wounds need special care and special attention. They need special parenting skill sets. That's what I do. I help adoptive families to be able to implement body regulation based and trauma-based parenting structure so that these kids can thrive in a situation that otherwise they may not do so well in. But that being said, I am telling you, I've had kids placed at birth, I've had kids placed as tweens, and I've had kids placed as teens. And some of my teens were actually my easiest kids. Isn't that unusual? It came from Ethiopia. And not to say that they had a cakewalk. It wasn't a walk in the park. But they did pretty amazing. And yet I have some kiddos that I've had since birth that are really struggling with mental health issues. So you just don't know. But resilience is a must. And loving that child, regardless, is a must. The other thing that I would say, the third thing I would say, is commitment. Commitment is a really, really big piece of what it takes to be able to stand in the battleground for these kids. Because here's the truth. There are times where they're literally going to intentionally hurt you as a parent figure. Blatantly. Not all, but a lot. And what are you going to do when that happens? Are you going to stay true to the commitment that you have made to these kids? What happens if they do have mental illness that comes on board as they start to develop more of those cognitive reasoning parts of their brain? Are you going to punch out? You can't, right? These are your kids, the same as if they came from your womb. You're obligated to them. So commitment, it is a huge commitment. If you can have resilience, you can have commitment. Those are two really, really important factors, right? And love, love, love. All they need is love. Da, 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 da. Yeah, not a singer, but that's okay. You get the idea. Love does not heal all wounds. It doesn't. There are wounds that as an adoptive parent I did not create in the heart and in the lives of my children, and therefore I am not the solution to be able to heal those wounds. And knowing exactly where my lane is, right? Like, is this my job or is this a job between them and the Lord? Knowing that and standing in my lane, staying in my lane, but unconditionally loving them wherever they are at in the process. You've got to be able to do that. You've got to be able to say, I will love you not based on your behavior. I will love you not based off of who you choose to be or who you choose not to be. I will love you despite your choices, despite your disabilities, despite any hardship that comes my way. I am going to fully love you. And let me explain what that means. It means that you're going to put your heart on the line knowing full well that there are times it is going to get stomped on. Whew. Whew. It's painful. Telling you, it's painful. All of that being said, you might be thinking like, whoa, is adoption right for me? These sound like some really hard, difficult things. Let me tell you, you're not wrong. Had I known everything that adopting 11 children was going to bring me, I'm not sure that I would have had the gumption to step into shoes that just looked too big to fill. But coming out on the other side, I can tell you this, our family is anything but perfect. Sometimes we're a hot mess, and that's okay, right? We've got kids with all ranges of diagnosis, disability, function levels, all different realms of how we identify success based off of how that unique child was made. And I can tell you, I am so glad we said yes to each one of them. I am so thankful that the Lord opened opportunities for me to say yes. Because I don't know that I would have been pursuing those doors, but God literally laid them in front of me and said, I have a child for you. And the yes is the greatest gift I've given myself in my life. I know so many more things about who I am that I would not have known had I faced the hardships of adoption and the blessings, right? The blessings that have come in it. You know, it's one of those things. You know why people do marathon races or like those triathlons? They do it because it's hard. And when you work hard for something, when you are done, man, you feel accomplished, don't you? You feel like you've conquered the highest of mountains because you did something hard and worthwhile. And you know what? You crossed the finish line. That's the journey of adoption, guys. You do something that is hard, that requires resilience and commitment and love and a full-on surrender of yourself over and over and over again. And at the end of the day, you get to look at it and go, my word, my family looks like a UN meeting. I love it. They're the most beautiful family. My children are finding their footing. And I get to watch that and be a part of that, buying their first houses, getting real jobs, falling in love, and wanting families of their own and starting families of their own and going to college or whatever it may be. It is an incredible thing to sit back and go, you know what? Job well done, kids. You guys are fighters and survivors and lovers, and I could not be more proud. So, is adoption right for you? I don't know you. I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is that if you can stay committed, if you can find resilience and develop those skill sets, and you know what unconditional love looks like, it very well could be a real thing for you. And the blessings that come on the other side, I'm so excited to hear your testimony of goodness, because it's a journey worth adventuring. If you're on that journey and you're struggling to find your peace, you're struggling to find the beauty in it because right now it's just hard, look me up, hit me up. I'd love to show you what it is that I've implemented with an entire community known as Journey University for Adoptive Families. This is where we come together, find commonality, use similar practices of trauma-informed care to establish routines and structures and tools that are different, that are specific for adoptive families to be able to teach our kids that they can love us and trust us, and that it's safe to do so, and that, you know what, there is a parent that's going to be there for you through thick and thin. Thanks for hanging with me, guys. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye-bye.